One of the comrades here mentioned that at times we have comrades who even go to an extent of wanting to stand for election when they themselves know that they are implicated in various acts. And yet he's got a whole range of things that he knows he has to be answerable for. And they want to stand, I want to be chairman, I want to be secretary of this, and yet there are issues. Some of them even do that when they are charged. Clearly charged when they should have stepped aside completely from even trying to contest positions. And this, comrades, is the ethos that we must instill in our organization.
President Cyril Ramaphosa presiding over the Eastern Cape Provincial Executive Committee meeting in the OR Tambo region, saying those words. Well, tonight we ask the question, is the ANC failing to hold its leaders politically accountable? Here to talk to us about this, I'm joined by ANC stalwart, poet and cultural activist, Dr. Mongane Wally Serote. You're a part of the conversation tonight, and weigh in and give us your views. 072-110-5584. That's the number where you can send us your message. Or otherwise, tweet us tonight at Newzroom 405. Dr. Serote, good evening, and thank you for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. And I'm sure you will agree with this issue that issues of efficiency and accountability in all levels of leadership certainly needs to be addressed with urgency in the country. But they are more especially important within the ANC because they hold levers of power in rather critical areas and in turning around this economy. And seemingly, they are least efficient in this regard. Has the ANC as an organization lost its capacity to hold its leaders accountable? I mean, if you were to look whether issues of maladministration, reports that come from the Auditor General, if you were to look at irregular expenditure, if you were to look at tender irregularities, if you were to look at outright fraud and corruption, is accountability and oversight within the ANC merely decorative, or is it something that is important?
You know, I have to agree with you. I have to agree with you that things have gone very, very wrong in the past 10 years or so, and that we owe to give a profuse apology to our people about this. I must agree with you. I must also agree with you that the problems within the ANC are very deep, are very serious, and equally they need very serious attention. And I also am guided by what President Ramaphosa was saying in the Eastern Cape. I interpret what he's saying to mean that the ANC has very quickly arrived at a point where it must address what is it going to do given these mammoth problems that it is facing. But he has also pronounced in the January 8th statement that the ANC is faced with having to renew itself. And he has also mentioned that ability is given to the African National Congress, of which I'm a member. And therefore, while on the one hand, as ANC, as an ANC member, but also collectively as ANC members, we are very much aware of the very, very deep problems that the ANC is facing, and therefore, which the country is facing, because the ANC, as you have suggested, is in power. We're very conscious of that. We're very aware of that. And we have also taken a decision to say, how must we address this? What is it that we must do? And eventually, is what we're going to do enable us to be in close relationship with a nation in this country? And those are the questions that we're trying to answer. A renewal committee has been put in place by the Veterans League, and in discussion with the NEC of the mother body, the ANC, and we are addressing all of these matters. The manner in which we should start to address these things is to say, what kind of a person, and I'm also referring to what the president was saying in the Eastern Cape, what kind of a person who is a South African must be a member of the ANC, especially the ANC branch, which is the interface nationally, eventually, if you take the collective responsibility of branch, which is the interface between the ANC and the people of this country. What kind of a person, what kind of a man must the ANC nurture to be responsible, and for them to be collectively responsible in a branch to change the destruction which the past 10 years have effected in our country? This is the task. These are the issues which the NEC or the Veterans League is dealing with and trying to address.
Yeah.
As we address the broad and mammoth challenge of renewing the ANC,
yeah,
but also of working out to ensure that the ANC is in dynamic and organic link with the people of this country.
Let's take that a little bit further. So let's take, for example, the organs that you speak of, the Veterans League. You've got the Integrity Commission. You've also got other instruments, for example, the constitution of the ANC. You've got the internal rules that govern how the organization should function. Do these instruments still hold any weight within the organization? I mean, if the president would say something of that nature, to say, well, an individual knows they're implicated. In fact, if you look at the number of leaders who are in court currently, either for corruption, either for PPE, money stealing, or in even severe cases, others are facing murder charges, yet the individuals would still enjoy broad support, at least from those who support them within the party, to the point where it leads to internal divisions within the organization. But this is an organization with, as you put it, internal rules. It has a constitution. It has organs like the Renewal Commission. It has organs like the Integrity Commission. Are these just merely there for the sake of being there, or do members actually take them seriously?
No. As I said when we started, I agree with you. The evidence before us, and it's not evidence of yesterday, it's evidence of many years, 10 years, maybe even more, indicate is an evidence that says to us as members of the ANC, and says to the nation also, that something went very, very wrong within the ANC, to the extent that we have listened, I can't remember for how many years, to the Zondo Commission saying this to the nation. And we must not even try as the ANC to contest anything that the Zondo Commission said. We must not even try to contest anything that the judiciary has said about the state or the ANC or some leaders of the ANC. We must not even contest that. What we have to do, which we are doing now, as I was saying earlier on, is to try to answer the question, what must we do so that the ANC is the ANC of its history, not an ANC of stealing, not an ANC which derails itself, derails SOEs, derails the parliament, derails the judiciary, not that ANC. That is not the ANC. But also, I think we're faced with another challenge. The challenge that we're facing, as you are suggesting, what kind of structures now must we put in place? And I'm speaking very broadly here. What kind of structures must we put in place to genuinely engage, on the one hand, this extremely serious problem which has broken our country and broken our movement, but also on the other hand, what is it that we have learned from that past so that when we say we are renewing and moving forward, we should do so fundamentally. And I'm suggesting the first and most important thing is to find, nurture, and create a new ANC member. Almost, I'm saying, we have to start from scratch. A lot of things have changed which demand that, in my view. And I'm sure I'm representing the view of other veterans. I'm sure I represent the view of the leaders of the ANC when I say that. What is it that we must do to have a new type of member of the ANC who will be in the branch, who in the future will be a leader of the ANC?
Okay. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we want to let's interrogate that further. As a collective, if you have assessed the shortcomings of the current system of how members are admitted into a branch, but also have you interrogated the current system of, as you put it earlier, on the right of the branches to decide who actually ascends into leadership. In application and in practice, have you interrogated the shortcomings of that, and what is it that would need to be fixed there? We'll continue in a moment. We're in conversation tonight with the ANC veteran, Dr. Mongane Wally Serote.
Now, the Zondo Commission has already come out with proposals, and as the ANC, we are going to go through a rather challenging process, but we need courage to go through that, so that we can see how best we are able to implement the recommendations that are going to come through the Zondo Commission. And for that we need courage, and we do not need to be cowed down. And comrades, this we should do if we want the African National Congress to continue winning elections. If we don't do that, we can forget.
Welcome back, my guest tonight, ANC stalwart, Dr. Mongane Wally Serote. And we are talking, of course, about those issues being raised there in that address by the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, on the renewal of the organization on its way to an elective conference at the end of this year. Now, before the break, Dr. Serote, you were talking about assessing the system of how members are brought into the organization. I'm sure you have reflected on this and interrogated the shortcomings, and I'm sure other veterans have also done that, and other leaders within the party. What have you come up with? What are the shortcomings within that process in application and in practice of bringing members into the party? For example, it has been said before that there are challenges, for example, of gatekeepers who look at those memberships, and there was talk of how do you digitize that system and so on and so forth. Is it as simple as just going digital that would help the organization rid of itself of the incorrect member to get into the ranks of the ANC?
No, I must say that there are guiding principles which we must follow. The first and most important is this. Are we ready as members of the ANC to ensure the survival of the movement? And if so, it must survive to do what? In the country, on the continent, in the world? What must it do? And I'm putting it like that because we have defined that the renewal of the African National Congress is an absolute priority, starting base. The members of the ANC at branch level, as I've said, and also the branches themselves, are they able, and what is going to enable them to be branches which not only carry the history of the African National Congress, but which also understand what is the problem that is facing the African National Congress. Two things. President Ramaphosa has talked about the people who steal. Those people cannot be members of the ANC, and we must set in place motions, processes, methods to completely eliminate them out of the systems of the ANC. That is the first task that we're facing. The second task is this. It is very obvious that at a certain point, as President Mandela said in 1997, that we have not only been infiltrated by careerists, but we have also been infiltrated by agents who have been instructed from outside of the ANC to destroy the ANC, and they are with us as we speak. So what is it that we should do to address these two very serious problems and challenges which face the African National Congress? We hope that members of the ANC, when they are called to renew their membership, they will do so knowing that it is not about themselves, but it is about a much bigger problem, serious problem, which is in the process of not only destroying our country, but of not only destroying our movement, but destroying our country, and also disabling the South African people to be part of the continent and repair the very big challenges that the continent is facing. And therefore, we should all be called at one time to say, you are going to have to renew your membership. You are going to have to be checked. Who are you? And how did you come to the ANC? But also, do you really carry the history, the culture, the politics which made the African National Congress a revolutionary movement? That time is not far when we should do that. It's very close that we should do that. And it is a starting point. The other issues, of course, we're going to have to examine things like the constitution of the ANC. Is it still in tandem with the times? We're going to have to check the structures of the ANC and say, are they the structures which can carry what is facing the African National Congress after such utter miserable performance that it executed because of the problems that it had internally. This is where we are in terms of our discussions, and this is what we want to come very quickly to a consensus and implement. And I said, on this we depend on the conscience of the members of the current members of the ANC to understand that they will be saving the ANC if they agree that they have to go through a process of renewing their membership of the ANC. The objective for that being who must be accepted as a member of the African National Congress.
Are you suggesting, Dr. Serote, that those who object to that process should be kicked out of the organization? For example, we've seen in certain branch meetings, right? That there would be people, for example, fighting to get into the branch meeting, while there are others standing at the gate saying, no, you're not supposed to come into this meeting. How do you, in practical terms, then clean up this membership role? How do you sift out those who you are saying you don't fit this criteria? How do you do that in practical terms without seeing people throwing chairs at each other? Because really, for many, it has become about getting in there and getting into those leadership positions for the economic benefits that you gain from being in there. So how do you, in practical terms, sift out the rot, so to speak?
I cannot see how a genuine ANC member will find it difficult when he or she is told you have to renew your membership because that is the starting point to save our movement, that the person would, the comrade would object. So in that regard, I expect genuine ANC members to submit themselves to that. And therefore also I expect that those members who do that will also accept when they are told, we are actually going to check everything about you to know who are the people who qualify to be ANC members. We'll have to find other methods with those who resist that. They will have to explain why would they resist the renewal of the ANC. If all of us are agreeing that because we absorbed thousands and millions of careerists who came into the ANC for no other reason but to promote themselves, to distance the ANC from its revolutionary history, to distance the ANC from the people of the country, to destroy the ANC, which is the oldest movement on the continent. What do they expect? It's another way of dealing with which will have to come into place to deal with them. But let us rely at the present moment on the issue that genuine members of the ANC will not resist. Yeah. If I'm told, renew your membership, we want to know who you are, I will not resist that. Yeah. Because my not resisting and my taking the position to renew my membership is the beginning step to renew our organization. Yeah. It has to be renewed.
How are you going to, though, deal, Dr. Serote, with, for example, leaders of the ANC in higher echelons? They've got history with the organization. They have been caught up in the PPE scandal, for example. They're in the NEC. These are not people you don't know. These are people who have a history with the party, who have struggle credentials, who've been with the party up until this point. Are you saying because they appear in the Zondo Commission or they are in some court case or the other, they should be suspended or even expelled from the party?
Those are two very good words. They must be suspended, and if it comes to that, they must also be expelled.
Let's take a break. We'll continue in a moment and get a little bit more on that question from Dr. Serote on why expulsion and how that would impact on the party and its renewal. But also, we want to ask the question, how can the ANC increase the level of political accountability, particularly of its president? Do stay.
It was the organization that you needed to go to as a reservoir of integrity, reservoir of all the values, reservoir of good behavior and a reservoir of help and assistance that our people needed. So that has been damaged, but it has not been damaged beyond repair. Many people often say that it's damaged beyond repair. No, it isn't. We are going to renew this organization and rebuild it. Whether people like it or not, it is going to happen.
Back tonight on In Focus, we're in conversation with ANC stalwart Dr. Mongane Wally Serote. Before the break, we're saying part of the renewing of this damaged reservoir would mean at some point the use of two words, suspension and expulsion. Let's expand on that, Dr. Serote. Many are arguing that part of the reason why the ANC is in, for example, a decline with the rise of breakaway parties was because of that use of expulsion. Others are saying the reason why the ANC currently is unable to deal with key issues of service delivery currently in the ANC is because the SG is suspended. There are those who are fighting those two words of suspension and expulsion. Are you saying the ANC is at the point of saying, come what may, irrespective of who we lose and who stays and who doesn't, those are two words that should begin to be in operation?
I am saying that because, you know, it is not just a wish of certain comrades. This is a resolution of the African National Congress, which it took at the 54th National Conference, which was held at Nasrec, and instructed all members of C. And I want to quote something that it said, which will give you the seriousness of what we're saying. It said, organizational renewal, therefore, is an absolute and urgent priority, and we may go as far as to say to the survival of our great movement. Now, if I'm a member of the ANC and I understand what that says, I cannot fight against that. There's no way that I must fight against that. I have no choice, but those two words may have to be applied to me, or I may have to go through a process of retraining and things like that. But the issue here is you cannot say I will not be subjected to a resolution of the conference of the ANC. The ANC has spelled it out for all of us to know this. And it is not a matter of choice. It is a matter of understanding why it is so and acting on the basis of that understanding.
Mm-hmm. What then of the current system of how leaders are elected? There's been a lot of talk around money being used to contest internal contestations within the party. Others even saying the Nasrec conference was bought by billions of rands and so on and so forth. Does the current system of how leaders are elected provide for high level of political accountability, or does that require in itself an overhaul?
The question which you're asking me, and I agree with you, is this. Is it true that the ANC has to be renewed? Do ANC members understand what renewal means? And I would say members understand the meaning we have renewed and that but also we understand that renewal means absolute change of ways of acting out and implementing the history and resolutions of the African National Congress. So there is no ambiguity here. We are renewing because a lot of what ANC is was almost destroyed, but also time has caught up with us to begin to say, is what the ANC was 30 years ago still the same as now? And that must be debated objectively, honestly, and frankly. We are opening up here for honesty, for frank discussion, for a seeking of principles which must renew the ANC. It's not a matter of choice of individuals. It's how processes informed by principle will be implemented. That is where we are.
Yeah. And then how can the ANC, in practical terms, that increase the level of political accountability of its presidents? Right? I mean, you speak, for example, of the leadership of the past 10 years. There are those who speak of the leadership of the current 10 years, saying, well, this current president has not implemented all the resolutions of the 54th Congress. They're implementing some. And if we are to implement, and he is to be held accountable, should be held accountable for the implementation of all. And maybe the previous president as well held accountable for what he failed to implement and put in place.
I do not look forward to the moment where if we put before the president what renewal means and he resists that. I would not look forward to that. I would hope, and I anticipate that when we put the principles of renewal before him, he will understand what we mean and act accordingly.
What is to act accordingly in this particular instance if resolutions are not being met or not being delivered as per the expectation of the membership? How do you hold that leader to a highest degree of accountability?
Well, I have quoted a resolution of the 54th National Conference. And in that resolution, it says it is a supreme guiding document of the liberation movement. It quotes the Freedom Charter. That is the supreme guiding document of our movement. You cannot say you are an ANC member or leader if you break the rules of the Freedom Charter. And I'm not saying there are people who have not done so. We are where we are because there are people who have done so. And we are spelling out to them what is staring them in the eye, which is that if it is found that they are guilty, they will be suspended, they will be expelled. And that is the rule that is in the process of being implemented now. We are very serious when we say the ANC must be saved, the ANC must be renewed, and that the ANC must serve the people of this country. Yeah. We are very serious when we say that.
There are some who are saying, for example, the core principle of the Freedom Charter of all national groups shall have equal rights. The people shall share in the country's wealth, particularly those, the land shall be shared amongst those who work it. Those core principles have been grossly violated, at least in the 2 decades or so, maybe more, of the African National Congress. Are you saying leaders are staring that in the face and they should be held accountable because of a failure to deliver on those core principles?
I am saying that, yes. I am saying that. When we go through the process of renewal of membership, those are the issues which are going to stare us in the eye and ask us questions. And we have to give honest answers to those questions.
And why do you think this organization has, up until this point, failed to do that? I mean, many are, for example, saying what kind of an organization would tolerate within its ranks, right, leaders who would steal relief money during a pandemic? Do you think these are part of the reasons why the organization has not lived up to those principles that are meted out within the Freedom Charter?
The reason we are where we are, as I said, is because there are those people who broke the principles which built the African National Congress. There are those people who broke the principles which linked organically the African National Congress to the people of this country. That cannot be denied, that there was a moment when the people of this country had trust in the African National Congress. It can be denied the people of this country supported the African National Congress. It cannot be denied that many joined the ANC genuinely while understanding the policies of the ANC and the fact that the ANC was committed to a total transformation from the apartheid state to a non-racial, non-sexist, a democratic and prosperous country. There is that. It's a history that we have. But like you and like everybody else in the country, we are absolutely astounded by the fact that that has been completely destroyed almost. And therefore, I'm saying, leadership of the ANC must take the position which says we must renew the African National Congress. And they must be guided at all times when they say that by the Freedom Charter, by the Constitution of this country. Anyone who is not about that is not a member of the ANC. It should be put straight, frankly, honestly, at this point, like that. You can't say you are a member of the ANC and then steal from the people. You can't say you are a member of the ANC and then transform the policies of the ANC to fit you, to suit you, to enrich you. And you can't say you are a member of the ANC when you are against the policies of the ANC. And this is what has destroyed our organization. And we must make a difference between what the ANC historically stands for and what happened to it when it was infiltrated by agents and infiltrated by terrorists. There is a difference that we have to make. That is the duty of the members, genuine members of the ANC.
All right. That's where we have to leave it for tonight. I appreciate your time, Dr. Wally Serote there, ANC stalwart.